to go and vote.
Now they can hear us.
Now they can. So, what did I say?
Gosh, I told you
We were just saying how absolutely exhausted we were, and then also how happy and that everyone is joining us. Black Queen, hello. Good evening. Angela Simmons, hello. Good evening.
That's right. No, what I was saying is that you know what, all our ancestors probably looking at us and said, you know what, good job for going out vote, and for those who have not yet, how dare you? Because we fought for this. We actually went through hell just so today we can have the luxury, the privilege to actually vote. And so, yes, we wanted to be together tonight, and it's a way of remembering all those women that come before us, and men also have supported us through this really incredible journey that lead us to hopefully tomorrow a victory for Kamala Harris. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I don't know how I'm going to get myself into the White House, even if I have to walk with my mother on my back. I think I'm going to find myself there.
Do you remember when those
Because
people snuck in the White House during Obama's presidency? Do you remember that?
no.
Yeah, there was it was a state dinner for the Indian prime minister. And so
Oh yeah, those two.
two
Yes,
people
yes,
just
yes.
dressed
That's
up
right.
in
That's
tuxes and
right.
a dress,
That's
really
right.
nice, and then just walked in.
I don't think I'm
And
gonna walk. I think
and
I'm
then
gonna crawl.
somehow they were just like, okay, yeah, you look like you belong here, and then got through four
Oh
layers
my
of security
goodness. Oh
and
my
got into the
goodness.
party.
I remember. I mean, we can tell them stories. What happened at the Obama inauguration, right?
Yeah,
Wow,
it
that
was.
was quite something. But anyway, good evening, everyone. So,
And sorry to hear that you are not feeling well, Angela Simmons, but glad to hear that you did get out to vote already.
oh, that is
But
wonderful.
hopefully you feel better soon.
That is wonderful. So, what everyone's going to be doing tomorrow? Are you going to be in front of your TV? Are you going to have a cocktail or tea or something? So, how you guys bringing the evening tomorrow around this time by now? We
Um,
should at least close to know if we don't know very early.
yeah, I myself, honestly, there's just a lot of anxiety. And I think a lot of people are feeling a lot of anxiety. I have faith and hope, and I think there's a lot of good momentum that we have. But at the same time, there's also just quite anxious about the whole thing because it is so important. It is literally probably the most important election of my life.
Yeah, I
And
think.
so as a result, um, unless it's like an overwhelming blowout, I don't think that I think I need to keep my sanity because otherwise I'd just get super, super nervous and agitated.
I know, I know, I know. And even though there's a part of it that feel like deja vu because I mean, it's completely something very different than God, Hillary Clinton, what it was like. But obviously, this is very different. We're talking about first biracial woman. You know, it is something completely different. So I am looking forward to tomorrow. But we will get started just right now by paying a tribute to all of you women playing this particularly video, which we actually made maybe a year ago, believe it or not, for a completely different project, and how appropriate, not knowing that, you know what, we would be able to use this tonight. So it's like a full circle moment. So
Well, before we do that, actually, I just want to say good evening to Cookies and Cream.
Cookies and Cream is
Yes, he
here.
did join.
Oh,
Terry
thank
H.
you so much.
actually did join the chat as
Thank you
well.
so
So
much.
hello, and Sharon Augustine. So
Cookies
Because
and Cream's name takes on a whole different meaning at this time of day as opposed to 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
oh my God, those are barren, you know, sort of hours right now.
I know.
You know, last night, oh, wasn't he amazing? And I was blushing.
Honestly,
I was blushing so
being
hard.
live right now
That's
just
right.
brings to mind that whole craziness that he manages to pull off every single day of doing this back to back to back. To
Oh
back.
my
I
God,
don't know
when
how he does that.
last night he did the Queen again, you know, because there's this somebody who sent him, like, you know, I guess those stickers, and then he has to do the voice of the late Queen. I was on the floor. I can't. I literally have to be near the bathroom. 'Cause- But anyway, so should we start?
yes,
Well, do you
And-
want to give him a more context in the plan, overarching plan?
I am
for-
so hyped up. Can you guys please help me here, because it's been a long night last night. I have not had any sleep at all. I've been really working really hard for Kamala Harris and for everyone, and I've been, you know, like, in taking care of my mother at the same time. So it's been a quiet sometimes since I see my bed. So I'm so looking forward to actually really sleep.
you're passing out. Yep.
So come on.
Well, the
yes.
quick overview is that we
Yes.
have a few songs, a few tributes to your point. Then entitling the vigil. It is a vigil because it is the prayer. It's the election eve where we're we're gathering together to pray and to reflect. Part of that is a tribute to those who came before, specifically all of the women who paved the way that brought us to this moment, to what this night could even be.
And it's not to say that, you know what, just women, because certainly we have men that who have been an ally to us and just who lead us. I mean, you could even see it to today, you know, had that, you know, from then to now, whether it's us here, many of those women, you know, today that are supporting our Dutches, to the men that, you know, decide to say, yes, I'm gonna join you guys to help you guys. So it's a part of our history, you know, helping each other. So we don't want to forget the men as well. So, but certainly for us ladies, you know, we always have to work 3 times harder, even to convince the men sometimes.
So that there's the tribute to those who kind of paved the way, both the men and the women who've made this night possible and what tomorrow can be possible. We'll share some verses and some prayers. We did want to mention for anyone who has anything that does need to be lifted up in prayer to please add it into the chat.
That's right. We will be having a moment of silence at almost at the end of the service, which follow by an incredible song. And we will stay on with you guys, watch it together. I think it's incredible. But we will have a moment of silence as we call out all those names. So we hopefully it will be name of your loved ones, and we certainly will be remembering, you know, Sussex Royal Baron aunt that who just left us, who didn't get a chance to actually see it, but I'm sure she's still, you know,
Is it looking down?
she's looking down, as well as my aunt and many more. So please write those names, put those names, because we'll be, you know, call them out. And so let's get the service starting by this wonderful tribute that we did, and look out for the, you know, make sure you looked at your screen so you can see somebody you guys recognize, and that is our beautiful Duchess, Megan.
Yeah, she's in there. All right, here we go.
Hmm, wonderful.
It's funny because there's a watching that video and the way we made it, and part of what was important about it was just showing how much we need women who operate in so many different ways and do so much for us. But in something that was actually spoken about quite a bit at the UN is that there's a lot of systems in place right now that don't give women the same opportunities and access, and how much better off a lot of things would be if we could actually just tap into the talent that is there that is just right now doesn't have the structural access. So yes, certainly tomorrow, election day, that's a thing when it comes to the presidency, but also just generally in terms of throughout society, throughout economies, how important it is to just have that opportunity for talent to rise up.
That's right. I've never really quite understand that because especially when it comes to, I mean, all of us come from a woman. Do you understand what I mean? So I just never really get how could you not support a woman?
Selfishness, I think, is a lot of it. So, but I agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, like that's your first love, right? So it's what you know, and it's certainly who you identify with the most. So it's a strange thing, but it's good to see that we are on the verge of like a new paradigm, I think. So I think it's up to us, and that's why we're here, and it's what this why we're having this visual.
You know what's incredible? On Sunday, we did the word, I think Sunday was yesterday, right? Okay, so we did the word that was representation. So, how should we look at and view this moment? How should we remember today how far we have gone? Sort of, I mean, we certainly have made progress, but not enough. So, how should we view and remember today? How should we tell the story for the next generation? What today meant to all of us? Because I know what it means to me.
It's a good question. I think part of what, and I know there's some clips you have queued up to play in terms of even just hearing from women who are reacting to the even just the nature of what's at stake in this election, and that sort of reality that it is not a linear path. It is often recursive. There is falters back in terms of how we progress forward, and it takes a concerted effort to continue to move forward collectively as a society. And it's not a one way thing. There's always going to be stops and starts and fits to it. But that idea of representation is something that is, from what we talked about yesterday during the service, is like really critically important to a functioning society, to functioning well-being groups of people. And so this, again, that just speaks to the importance of this moment heading into this election.
That's why, I mean, and this is really my opinion here. And because throughout history, we have women that, who have challenged us, push us, push the ball forward. But we also know there's many women that will hold us back as well. And we can see that right now, especially when it comes to, a beautiful princess. And many of those virtual, all those nastiness are coming from women. And there she is working very hard to change things, to challenge us. Make sure that, we have a voice in the table. And many of those women are beneficial to the work that she is doing with her husband, Harry. But yet they're holding progress. How should we tell the story? How do we, because something needs to change. We have to recognize in each other what the mission is, what we're supposed to do. Because very often that, you hear that, we are our worst enemies sometimes. Because we don't often support each other the way we should. So how should we tell the story? How do we stop this?
Well, it's actually a good question that leads into one of the verses for today. If I might insert that verse in response to that, which is actually the verse selected for that word of compassion. And this is from Philippians 2. It's verses 1 and 2. And to your question, how do you tell that story? How do you bring it together? It kind of goes right to that, because what it says is that if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any fellowship with the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and purpose.
Amen.
Yeah, but it's a really interesting question that you have, and that you asked about why you would go against your own. And it's really interesting, because when you start thinking about it, it just strikes me, and I'm just speaking personally, as just being innately selfish, just because you feel you've reached that particular position, and that you're not trying to help up the next person behind you, and that's the only thing that kind of makes sense to me, is that they're not necessarily viewing it in a way that they're doing themselves harm, but they've somehow are above it. So it's a very interesting kind of mind game that you have to play with yourself in order to be able to do something like that. I really can't bend my head around it myself.
Do you think, because sometimes it's how society, the gatekeepers find a way to sort of, how would I say? Because as you say, the women's movement, right? We were all in it. We're fighting very, very hard. But at the end of the day, the people that, will end up getting, most of the sort of beneficent were white women. And so I wonder if that create a situation where, again, here they are, they have all of it, and then, I don't know how to interpret it. I don't think I have the word. I'm too tired. But I just feel like, how can we move in past this, or how do we fight it anyway? I think so far we are doing a great job, when it comes to sort of, our Dutchies, the way we stand up, we really doing, what I feel like, sort of, my goodness. I mean, I think the Sussex was going to be written about for years to come.
Well, yeah,
for what we have been able to do, for the success.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things that the Sussex squad, in many ways, and this is something I know that you, Lady Sussex, have articulated on numerous occasions throughout the service, in terms of what does it take? What does this moment call for? And there is that truth of, even when it is uncomfortable, to speak truth to power, and to actually call things for what they are, and to say it and not be afraid to call it out and say it out loud. But to pair that with leading with empathy, and to actually have that mindset that love is actually that which is going to win. It is not beating out hate with more hate. It is really winning with love. And so if you are willing to stand up and speak the truth, and you are willing to do it from a place of love, a place of empathy, it's not immediate in terms of the effect, but that is ultimately the path forward.
That's right. I just think that, we are in a very, I don't know, a more challenging time. It's a time that, it don't often, I feel like we going backwards, even though we have moved 3 or 4 steps forward. But there is time it feels like we're going backward based on everything we have seen happen the last couple years, and things that happen on their names, things that is happening in our face. Just even watching what's happening with the Royals family currently, and you cannot believe it's actually happening. So, but here we are, and we are confronting again with this biracial woman. Hopefully tomorrow will be elected for president, and dealing with the same issues which we have seen before, especially when it comes to our Duchess Meghan. And I think what maybe is missing in the conversation, her entering the Windsor world, the royal family, what that mean for us, for history.
Yeah, it's an
And
interesting.
tomorrow, what that's going to mean for history again, and for all of us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think just drawing the parallels between Meghan and Kamala is the difference between like what makes them similar, and they're both in extreme positions of power. When Meghan was first, and she was obviously married Harry, and she was she still is, but basically was the princess in the family. And so she had a huge platform in terms of like how society was looking at black women and women just generally speaking. And she was very vocal in how she was using that platform, and how she was trying to uplift her community and communities like her. And I think that there was a reaction against that obviously is still continuing till today. And in a very similar way, I think that Kamala also represents a very similar thing, that she is basically this embodiment in terms of what is the potential of this particular group of people. And I think that even stems back from even Obama, like just in terms of being representative of a certain group of people, and trying to, and he was quite indeed kind of a change of narrative in terms of what people expected someone like him to do and to look like, and what he was about. And I think Kamala is just another extension of that same kind of idea, but obviously from a woman's point of view. And it's interesting just in terms of the backlash that it's gotten, and then also kind of the same kind of animosity it's been able to bring up.
Yeah. But what do you guys think that people miss on the power that exists in just voting? Why is it that a problem, knowing the fight that fought for us, what women in general went through to have the power to vote? Why that lost into really this generation? Well, or at least some people, maybe not all, because it seems like there's a motivation with the youth these days to actually sort of get things done. But we're still dealing with people that who's not so young that say, I'm not going to be bothered.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. There's not as not as much of an emphasis that has been placed on for younger generations in terms of how they've been raised in the education system of that on civics specifically, and how we got to where we are in terms of historical trends that have led us to this moment. And so it is easy it is very easy to take things for granted generally, especially when it's not in your face. It's not something that you lived personally. It takes an effort, a conscious and deliberate effort to actually visualize those things and make it meaningful for yourself so that you're not taking them for granted. So that is part of just the situation we find ourselves in today with younger generations. But I think that also goes to what Charles was just talking about in terms of the some of the threads of commonality between Meghan and Vice President Harris is they both have an abundance of respect for their ancestors and how they got to where they are, whose shoulders they're standing on, and their own obligations to the generations that come after them, their role as civic leaders, and what that means to be engaged in civics. And so that is another one of those things that's just critically important, not only for Vice President Harris, but also for Meghan and the role that she operates in on the world stage is to actually get that more in younger generations' minds. The Archwell Foundation actually put out a statement as relates to the election, saying that voting is not just a right; it's a fundamental way to influence the fate of our communities. And at the Archwell Foundation, we recognize that civic engagement, no matter one's political party, is the heart of a more just and equitable world. You tie that back to what was actually expressed by Lyndon B. Johnson, the president, who said that this right to vote is the basic right without which all others are meaningless. It gives people as individuals, control over their own destinies.
Absolutely. And somehow it seems to miss on certain people.
No, it certainly does. We actually just put out another podcast for Planet First Action.
That's right. Congratulations on
Yeah,
that.
thank you so much.
I had a chance to watch it, and guys, it's very short. Actually, that's probably the shortest one you guys have ever done. Maybe like 7 minutes.
Yeah, very short.
It's very short, but very sweet. And I hope all the Sussex Squads go in to you guys' channel and sort of watch it. It's very quickly. And give it a like and share it.
Give it a like, give a thumbs up, but it's also this episode specifically really is a call to action for people who are on the fence right now about voting to actually
That's right.
get out and vote. So if there's anyone that you know that could use some additional encouragement, feel free to send them that too.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, what you were just quoting Lyndon B. Johnson, but my favorite quote is actually what you actually said during the episode from Abraham Lincoln, and that is elections belong to the people. It's their decision. If they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters.
Isn't that powerful and so true?
Honestly, I had to do
election
additional research to make sure that that was something that he actually said, because it is hilarious that Abraham Lincoln talking about people turning their backs on fires, burning their behinds, and sitting on blisters. But that's actually what he said.
That's right.
But I think it's so poignant, though.
It is.
I mean, it's just I think it gives you all the right imagery about how serious he actually takes it. So I could imagine a good old Abe to say that, because it's he's no nonsense. He gets straight to the point.
So what is our co-host saying? How are they feeling tonight?
They're all saying hello as usual and thank each other. And as we've kind of expressed that prayers and thoughts for Angela Simmons, that she does feel better. But everyone just kind of, the usual suspects, in particular, Black Queen, just getting the crowd going.
Oh, wonderful. So I think let's move to our second verse.
Sure. So for the second verse, let me pull it up. It is actually about freedom. So with that, actually, it's Jeremiah chapter 34, verse 15. And it says, "Recently you repented, and did what was right in my sight. Each of you proclaimed freedom to your own people. You even made a covenant before me in the house that bears my name, which I just thought was really interesting, just saying that you repented, and then at this point, basically, you proclaim freedom to your own people. And then that is actually what matters. That's basically kind of what stands in my name.
Right. This is really incredible, guys. I mean, I just feel like there is so much that I want to say that I can't say.
On the tip of your tongue.
That's right.
Is it on the tip of your tongue, or just is it something that
Oh,
you?
no, I just cannot say.
Yeah, about to say, yeah.
I just cannot say it because it's. I'm thinking, like early this evening, I was thinking so much about our Duchess, the meaning of it when she married, into the Windsor family, the royal family, what that represented, because we're talking about a woman descending straight from slavery, the Raglands. And here she is entering this 1,000 years old sort of what that representing. And I mean, side note, sidebar, whatever how you say it. Like very often I find myself watching her entering that church all the time. I probably give those people so much views, and I will watch it over and over again. Her entering that chapel alone by herself, walking up those steps and looking at it just take my breath away every time.
Yeah, you
The
definitely
symbol,
yeah,
yeah.
you definitely love watching their wedding video for sure.
Yeah, it's
We hear it ring
it's
throughout the house
because
very
of
often.
what it meant. And I just feel like tomorrow, seeing her on that stage, Kamala Harris on that stage, hopefully, everything went her way. To be able to witness that moment, it just, I don't know.
No, it's going to be, well, first of all, I don't want to jinx it because I'm still like all kinds of anxious about it. But should it come to pass, certainly it is going to be a breathtaking moment, and certainly will give pause for reflection in terms of everything, like the importance and the meaning behind it, on top of basically the actual, like, the actual practicalities behind what's going to be what's actually transpired.
And for me, I think where I am right now, it's not even so much that I'm looking forward to her policies or, whether or not how much things going to change or not. What I'm actually really looking for is the mood of the country. Because I remember what, at least what I felt like everyone felt when Obama was elected. I feel like the mood was light. Like I feel you can look at people in the eyes. You know what I mean? You could look at your neighbors. You can talk to somebody. That at least for me, I didn't walk and feeling scared or waiting. Oh my God, when I'm going to hear the next, sort of, God, what is this man's name? Floyd.
George Floyd?
Yes. And everything that's been happening, the abuse. Like, I feel like, I was not really thinking about that. But now I find myself sort of really weirdly don't even want to look at my neighbors. Because, like, I have no idea what they're thinking.
Well, yeah, there's that, and there's also the compounding effects of what happened with the pandemic, shutting everything down, everyone getting used to not even going anywhere or talking to anyone, doing the whole thing combined with each other. It led to a very different social atmosphere.
I just feel like, hopefully starting tomorrow evening, we have something to actually talk about.
Well, Thierry H voiced something, one of our co-hosts, Thierry H, voiced something that a lot of people also believe, from what we hear, is that it is not likely that we'll get the election results right away. That it'll probably be more like a day or two before a winner is announced. So I don't know what you think, Lady Sussex, but certainly not holding breath yet.
Well, when I was trying to sort of see, which angle I was going to go with this evening, and I was looking at, so many of the work women doing. There's so many women that will march, actually, and it's incredible. There is a lot of women are out because one of the biggest issues for them, it's, sort of the right to, of our body. Do you understand what I mean? And I think this is, people are coming to term what that actually meant. The fact is that, you, a grown woman, this is 2024, and then you don't have the right to make decision for your family. There is something wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, you want to play that clip?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm a 77-year-old woman. I remember when women were crying and carrying on with coat hangers and other kinds of means to save their lives. I remember when women were crying out for support and medical care because they needed to have their husbands involved in their lives, and they had no choice. They had to go along with whatever men wanted. So here we are today, standing up for democracy, standing up for the right to choose, standing up for all the women who come before us and behind us.
I'm going to be 65 in January, and I can't believe we're at this point again. And that people have become so cruel and vile and unkind. And this country is really, it's a bunch of puritanical BS that we're based on, right? Because why does anybody need to know who's sleeping with whom anyway?
More than ever in 2024, we are voting on freedom or fascism, and there's really no middle ground. And so this is, it's a fight for our life. It's the fight for our future, our freedom, our family, and everything that we love is on the line. So it is critical that we all turn out and we all vote.
Amen. I think they say it all. This is really, really important. Very important day tomorrow.
It's funny because there's been a lot of coverage, obviously, around the election, and one of the things that keeps getting repeated by people who are interviewed is that they're saying that it is the most important election ever, and then they go back and they play from the last 4 years ago and 4 years prior to that and 4 years prior to that. Everyone's saying for every election, this is the most important election ever, and it's like that. Maybe there was a degree of truth each of the times that was said previously, but it seems like, honestly, genuinely, that this election, in so many ways, is by far the most important one yet.
I think it's because, as things are changing, sometimes you find yourself, you think it cannot get worse, or it cannot get worse, and it did get worse, or it cannot get worse, and then it did get worse. So at that moment, you feel like, sort of it is the most important because you are sort of feeling what is happening and the way you're into, it's not good for your life. I mean, we can do the same thing what's happening with the Royals right now. You see, every time you're hearing these stories, what is happening, whether it's King Charles or whether it's, Harry's brother to that woman over there that we now have to call Queen. Like, you just, it cannot get worse. And it did.
Yeah. Well, there is that. That is absolutely true. But the other reality for where we find ourselves as we head into the election tomorrow, and why this one is by far the most important one yet, is because of where the world actually is right now. Never mind the sort of the backsliding in ideas and relationships with each other in society, all of the things that we've kind of been talking about, just the technological advancements that have happened and where technology is moving, how quickly it is moving there. Charles and I were just on a meeting with the federal government here in the U.S., specifically focused on a new national AI research resource, because that is just how quickly that is moving forward in terms of developments in new artificial intelligence. Like that is not a thing that really was a thing in previous elections. And the administration that goes in and is running for the next 4 years is going to have major implications, major influence over how those technologies actually come into communities.
Absolutely. Because I think for many people, they have not really yet wrapped their head on what AI actually is. Because for many people right now, we are looking at AI as something that's very interesting. Sort of,
People
pictures
assume
and
ChatGPT, but it is so much more.
It's much more than that.
Yeah, I don't think that we've, as a society, have fully realized or understand the full ramifications of what AI is going to do. I think we're literally very much at a superficial and surface level in terms of our understanding, in terms of how it's really going to impact overall like society. So it's going to be interesting in terms of how that plays out. But getting back to one of George's earlier points, just in terms of really what's really happening and kind of the consequential nature of what this really means. One of the overarching kind of thoughts that I've had in regards to really the last couple years, maybe 8 years, 10 years of what's happened, is the fluidity in terms of like rights and people's rights. For a long time, you just felt that, or at least I myself just felt that it was, they're fairly static. If anything else, they're additive. You would get more, but it is such a thing that they, freedom is not free. You have to protect it. It takes constant vigilance, and so I think that's certainly something that I have been thinking much more of late, just in terms of making sure that we have to, defend with what we got.
Speaking of, that's actually a very good segue to Megan's remarks herself about the importance of voting. So, want to play that next?
Yep.
We vote to honor those who came before us and to protect those who will come after us, because that's specifically what this election is all about. We vote to honor those who came before us and to protect those who will come after us, because that's what community is all about. And that's specifically what this election is all about.
In our ears. But it was basically Megan saying the importance of that right to vote because of how we got here, are the ancestors that gave it to us, and also our obligation of those that come after us.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I as I said again, I am really sort of don't really have the words. I wanted to come in, tonight and just be with this group of people and just sort of, to send our love and, to Kamala, to the world, because we need a lot more love, a lot more understanding, and we just need light.
Perfect.
It's that, and to what you just said, like even just analyzing that statement, it's about being in community. That
Absolutely.
Light. It's about being with people who not just shared values, but also who have a desire to even communicate. The desire to even relate to one another.
And as I said again, this is really one of my proudest moments. To see when Tina and Michelle, which also I think as a great leader, that will step up when no one else was, would just say, no. And Tina, herself, from everything that I've learned or understand about her, and I may be wrong about some of it, but this is a woman that who have worked in embassies, so she is some sort of really kind of attaché. She's a lawyer. She's a trained lawyer, and you have Michelle living in Belgium, that who was in school, and somehow they find each other, different part of the world, and said, we going to create this, this thing that we call now Sussex Squad, and not knowing what it would be, but they just feel like they had to do something. Someone needed to do something, and they did. And look where we are today. And I feel like it's that same idea all the time when we collectively come together. You don't have to wait. You don't have to just, it magic happen when you say no. When you say no, there is power in that. And now we have so many of our squaddies. We have, Baron that was doing incredible job. And you see many other men are taking on that fight. It is a beautiful thing. And for me, this is what gives me hope.
No, absolutely. And I think it's, and I think that's, going back to one of George's earlier comments, it's the wonders of technology, right? Because, this kind of community could not have been built, even 10, 15 years ago. The tech just simply wasn't there, with the platforms just simply weren't available. So it's really with this advent of social media and with the platforms that we're currently using and how ubiquitous, internet and computers are, that allow us to kind of find these communities and uplift those of each other. And it's definitely a two-sided coin. There's just as much good as there is bad in it. But I think it's making the good out of it, which is, I think, kind of all of our responsibility, and finding those gems that can kind of enhance society and kind of bring the light to the world, that I think is so important.
That's right. So
And we have that mandate and direction even from our third verse for today, which is from 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 through 8, who said, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love."
Amen.
That's why love wins.
Love wins always. Always.
And by the way, just as a looking at, because we've been here talking and not paying attention because we're talking, but everyone who's online with us right now has actually passed over into, formally here in Eastern time anyway, officially Election Day.
Wow.
It's now 12:08 in the morning.
It is. Oh, wow.
It's officially Election Day.
So should we move on? Should we start moving on onto our last sort of, I guess, verse?
The last verse? Sure.
Yes.
So for the last verse that we have today, it is actually about justice. And that comes from Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 20. "Follow justice and justice alone, so that you may live and possess the land that the Lord your God has given you."
Amen.
I don't have another verse, but I do have one more quote to offer.
That's right.
From civil rights leader Thurgood Marshall. Speaking on democracy, he said, "Where you see wrong or inequality or injustice, speak out, because this is your country. This is your democracy. Make it, protect it, pass it on."
Amen. Amen. And so we have to fight for Kamala tomorrow. Please make those phone calls. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to some of those family members that just, don't want to get out of bed or whatever. No, the line is too long, and making excuses. Make sure they understand what's at stake, because it is really, really important. But I think that, will be so important tomorrow. Maybe for those of you that who have not yet voted, that who want to go and vote tomorrow, or if you did, to reflect on everyone that who has paved the way for us to have that right, and how what we do here, how it manifests itself around the world. And it's truly really it is. It affects all of us. It doesn't really matter where you are around the world. And so it is important that we think of these people, whether it's Africa, whether it's Europe, whether it's Asia, Latin America. It does affect us. A lot of these countries take the signal what is going on here in America, because the excuses could always be, well, you did it, so we can do it too. So it is really important that we're reflecting. It's not just a vote. It's a vote for the world. It's the vote for the future. It's a vote for many people who not going to be there, like Baron's aunt, to cast that vote. Hopefully she had already voted before she left us very early. It's a vote to say thank you to those people who fought for us, get beaten, get killed, to have that right to vote. And we can see how challenging it still is that we are here still fighting for those rights. And we should never take it for granted. And so it is my hope that we can reflect. We can take a moment of silence. Please, George.
And during that moment of silence, just in honor of exactly who you just mentioned, Baron's aunt, we'll have that tribute that Baron made for her up on the screen. And as we said, if there's anyone else that you want lifted up, or just to say to think of, please add them in the chat as we have that moment of silence.
That's right. So let's have a moment of silence. I think it was important for me to do this. And George, if you can pray, please do so. And right after, we'll be watching the video we were able to put together to remember why we need to vote. Not just in this election, in every election. Every 2 years we have to vote, every 4 years. It is important that we vote, not just only in the big presidential elections. It's in our sort of town hall elections. Voting, it is so important to our lives, to our future. So George, please.
In this moment, Dear Lord, we just want to thank you so much for all of the many, many blessings that you have given us. We thank you for those who you have brought into our lives, especially our family, even though many of them have passed on and have joined you again in that next life. People like Cookies and Cream's father, mother, her aunt, like Baron's aunt, like your aunt, Lady Sussex. So many loved ones and parents in particular. But we are also grateful for those ancestors who came before our parents and their grandparents and their grandparents, those who did that hard work, that upon which was built that those privileges that we enjoy today, that we try not to take for granted, like that right to vote, that right to have influence over our futures. Let us not take it for granted. Let us realize this moment, realize the significance of this election. Give us the strength to be compassionate. Give us the wisdom to be able to continue to lead with love. And as always, please protect those who are out there that are more vulnerable because they don't have those privileges and those protections, and also those who are more vulnerable because they are in the eye and are trying to do that work. People like Harry and Meghan, Mama Doria, their children. But especially be with us all as we go into what is going to be a very emotionally charged and difficult and historic day, all of the different words, what tomorrow is going to be. Please be with us for that throughout the day and for the days that come, so that we really can move forward, build on that momentum, and move to a place of love together.
And I also will be thinking of Queen Elizabeth. I think this is a woman that, have made so many presidents. And it would be nice to see Kamala meeting her. The symbol about that for me. So I will be thinking about her as well. And so let's watch this video which we put together alongside with you guys.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, and before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. Over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried
So we going to leave it here, I think. Um, Hopefully tomorrow around this time we'll be calling Kamala Harris the president elect. So I can wait. I know this is God's will for us to be here, for things to happen the way it happened. That we don't have to wait for 4 more years to actually see that moment. But we have to not just jumping joy just for the sake jumping joy, but it's a reminder who we are and how special that we know we are. And the fight will continue because it is on us. We have to fight for that freedom. So thank you for joining us. It's pretty much like me talking, not talking, because I don't know how I'm feeling this moment because I have not slept for days. It is not easy to do the work that I do and caring for my beautiful, wonderful mom that it's a different woman. It's truly really not the mother that I knew because she is changing with her illness. And I've seen somebody completely, but still very special, still very loving, and still very caring. And so tomorrow, it's a day for her. So thank you for joining us. Hope to see you guys soon again. Have a good evening. I'm thinking of you, Baron. Thinking of you, Auntie, and my aunt. And for all of you that will have fight the fight. And thank you to the men that were all out the whole week, past month, being an ally, voting, supporting us, standing up with us. We need you. We care about you. We are your mother. We are your sister. And we are your daughter. So thank you. Thank you to you all. May God bless you. Love win. Have a good evening. Goodbye.